Hello, I'm Andy Agafangelo. I'm very proud to be the founder and leader of Transparency Task Force, which is a UK-based but very international certified social enterprise. We exist for purpose, not for profit. Our purpose is to promote reform of the financial sector so it serves society better. We've been running since May 2015, so over 10 years now. Quite an achievement, given the fact that we are always challenged from a funding point of view. We somehow survive from one event to another, from one year to another. And we do so because of the support you folks kindly give us. Every little bit of help helps. It really does. And quite literally, without it, we couldn't operate. When I first started Transparency Task Force, I did so being somebody who'd spent a career in the financial sector and on frequent occasions witnessed it firsthand behaving very badly. I wanted to do something about it. I got a few things going to try to make a difference, and it's all snowballed from there. There came a point in about 2017 when I literally couldn't do both running my consulting business and run the Transparency Task Force. So I ended up deciding to close down my consulting business and become a full-time campaigner, which has left me wealthy in every way other than financially. But I'm very, very proud to do what I do and very, very pleased to be doing what I do. The greatest pleasure I get is meeting people from around the world, quite literally, who share my belief that the financial industry is profoundly important to the well-being of society, to political stability, and even economic stability too. Much of our work, unfortunately, is to try to find ways to help people who found themselves in one kind of David versus Goliath battle or another. And despite the fact that years ago I had the belief that the judicial system was fair and that you'd win a case in the courts or in tribunal if you deserved to win the case, that's no longer my view at all. I now see the judicial process as a minefield full of all kinds of reckless harm and danger, all kinds of tripwires that can harm people. It is very often a David versus Goliath battle where the other side is in the wrong, but they've got all the power, all the might, all the money, all the resource, all the contacts, all the privileges, and the people in the right are the Davids trying to take those people on. Sometimes people get into court battles and tribunal battles that they regret getting into because they come out of it all chewed up and spat out. And it's horrible when it happens. It's absolutely horrible when it happens, when you know the person that took the case to court was in the right and deserved to get justice but didn't get it. Very, very sad, very disheartening. Sometimes, even with well-paid lawyers and strong cases that should win, the courts don't see it that way. And there are so many people in our community who are absolutely convinced that they simply weren't treated fairly. And of course, those who are in the biggest David versus Goliath battles are those who are having to go into court effectively on their own, sometimes against a major financial institution or a major body such as a regulator. And of course, the question is, what can those souls do to increase the chance of getting the justice and the redress and sometimes the compensation that they deserve, that they know deep down that they deserve? And I'm absolutely sure many people take on these battles, not because of their own self-interest in their own case, but because of a sense of absolute righteous indignation and even disgust about how they've been treated. So this is the second session that we have run on this topic about trying to help or trying to find ways to help litigants in person. I'm going to share my screen just to show you that we ran this session, a similar session back in October. We had great feedback from it. We were very pleased with how it went, and we decided to run it again because basically we ran out of time. There were more ideas coming forward, and we realised that more and more people could potentially benefit from it. So this is the event we ran in October. The good news, because it was recorded, you can watch it. So I'm about to put this link into the chat. If you didn't attend our October session, all you need to do is click on the link I've just put in the chat, and you'll be able to watch the recording and pick up the ideas that the speakers kindly gave there. I'm also going to share my screen once again to talk to you about what I'm calling the TTF timetable. So this is a bit of operational stroke admin type stuff, but it's very important I explain it properly because most of you need to do something. So what you need to do is make sure that if there are any TTF groups that you want to be in, that you apply to join them. We're changing our process. We're getting a bit more grown up. We're adding in a bit of governance. So all the sessions in green with a green background you can see here. So that's TTF Australia, a meeting for those who have issues with wills, trusts, funeral plans and powers of attorney, a meeting for those who have issues with the Financial Ombudsman Service, issues with the Financial Conduct Authority. These are weekly meetings we have for different groups or cohorts of people. Our lawfare session, which is for people taking matters to court or tribunal, that's on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. Are Matters, which is Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. Fellowship for people who've been hurt. You know what I mean by being hurt, if you've been hurt. Fellowship for people who've been hurt, who are seeking hope, help and healing. Steve Connolly is one of the founders of that session, and Steve's with us tonight. What an ally he is. It's fantastic. On Thursdays at 3 o'clock, those of you who are fighting insolvency cases, typically insolvency gets weaponized by banks. Banks find ways to engineer foreclosure and insolvencies, etc., etc. That's what that's all about. For pension and investment scandal victims, that's Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. Issues with banks is Thursdays, 5 o'clock. Most Tuesdays, as we are tonight, we've got an online event. So that's this event here. And Thursdays at 7 o'clock, TTF USA and Canada. So that's our weekly timetable. I'm not saying this from an ego point of view. I really, really am not. But I don't think there's any organization anywhere that has such an intense activity program as us. And that's because of me and Alexandra and Chelsea doing what we do, but supported brilliantly by a whole host of people who kindly volunteer to do what they do to help the cause for no benefit other than the personal satisfaction and hopefully sometimes pride in doing what we do. So that's what TTF's all about. And thank you for your flying clap there. I like that. Thank you. And thank you as is as well. I can see some applause here and there. Okay, so the key point is, if you haven't yet filled in a form for any of the groups that you want to join, go to the link I just put in the chat and fill in the form. The form takes 4 or 5 minutes, no more. If you want to be in several groups, that's fine. Just make sure you're applying to join a group that's relevant for you. And you'd be very welcome to join, as long as it makes sense for you to join. Okay, I hope that sets the scene. Litigants in person, practical tips for Davis to beat Goliaths. Our first speaker is Steve Connolly. Many of you will know Steve. Steve and I had our first conversation. I'm guessing it must have been about 7 or 8 years ago. I can still literally remember the very first conversation I had with Steve. He told me about his career as a senior banker, a senior asset management guy. He told me about the fact that he got seriously disgruntled with the disconnect between his own values and his own integrity and the lack of integrity of the organizations he was working for. And that took him down a particular path, frankly, a very similar path to myself. And I could go on for ages about Steve. All I'll say is he is a wonderful, 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 wonderful human being and a really massive asset to the cause. And he brings to TTF and those of you he's helping a unique combination of patience and knowledge and AI-powered initiative. I'll describe it in that way. Can we please show our appreciation to Steve Connolly? And Steve's going to spend about 10 minutes or so sharing some thoughts about how litigants in person might have a better chance of success if they pick up some of the ideas Steve's about to talk about. Steve, over to you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Andy. It's great been working with you all these years as well. At some point, I might need to share my screen just to show people if that's okay. Yeah. So basically, what I've done is I've set up Get Safe, which you can see behind me, which is helping victims of financial exploitation, survivors of financial exploitation, get safe, basically, if that makes sense. Get support after financial exploitation. When, as you probably know, when you're in the situation, there seems to be nowhere you can go where there's someone who will listen, someone who will help you. So what I wanted to do is set up what currently is a charitable foundation, but what it will become a charity, the CIO at some point. But it currently operates as a charitable foundation to provide support to survivors of financial exploitation from the hands of banks, pension companies, and advisors, and the industry generally, regulators, taxman, all these institutions and bodies that Andy was referring to, where you're on your own, you're a David facing the Goliath. So I'm using all my skills and knowledge, not just of 40 years in financial services, but also with AI, to level the playing field, so you can take on the Goliaths of the Goliath banks of this world on an even footing. And when you shine AI into the recesses of the banks and the Financial Conduct Authority, the FOS, the police, there's no hiding place. It's completely transparent, and you can then start to get justice. And that's really what it helps to do, to equip individuals who are on their own to go toe to toe with these Goliathon kind of institutions. So I'm going to share with you some of the support. It's all free to need. So if you want anything, but what I do is we organize training for citizen investigators to do two things mainly. One is to pursue justice and get yourself pursue redress, compensation, justice, and get your rights upheld. That's one thing we do. The second thing we do is we help you rebuild your life as well, because what often happens is that your life could be in tatters through house repossession, mental anxiety after years and years of trying, no one listening, suicidal tendency. This is really what drives me to do what I want to help people save lives, save houses, save families, and that's really kind of what this is about. And I want you in a safe position. I want you to get safe. What TTF does is then takes that further and starts talking to politicians and getting things changed. What my main focus is on is you, and I want to get you in a good place. And that's really all I'm trying to do with Get Safe. So if I share my screen now, I'm going to give you a link to what I'm going to share. So this is a website basically for Get Safe, and just so you know where it is. So I'm going to show you that. Okay, so this is the Get Safe website, and it's about support after financial exploitation. And I want to show you where the facilities are. So if you go into support on the website, then it brings you into the services that we've got. So all the things you can do, where you can start. It's written in a way which we call trauma friendly. So it's not going to give you anxiety. It's designed so that you can be relaxed and everything. And you can become a member of the area of the site if you want. And there's all sorts of things you can do to connect to people and to connect to groups. And you can book even a 15-minute call with me if you want. Just join the fellowship. All these are free services because it's a charitable foundation. But what I want to show you is the courses that are available. So you can go in here. There's two courses that we run. One's called the Goliathon Masterclass, which is to help citizen investigators, to help you become really brilliant at we call it pre-legal support. So it's not legal advice, it's support for you. 99% of the work you need to do is about investigating and creating an evidence dossier and interpreting documents and writing correspondence to the banks, to the FOS, that's not legal advice, that's admin. So it's going to help you with all of that and help you do it in a really great way. And you can just, when you go onto this page on the courses, services courses, you can just click on view details and it'll invite you to join the website. It's completely free, but when you join the website, then it'll invite you to the actual training course. So then you'll get this training course, which is free. And there's hours of training videos on how to be a great citizen investigator. So we've added, so there's an introduction section here. There's going to be videos with me on it and telling you how it all works. We call this the Goliathon. There's 6 sessions, 90-minute videos, and downloadable documents as well. This morning we've added a new page, which is called using ChatGPT projects to support your case safely. So you can go in there and have an explore and read all the stuff. Go at your own pace. There's no, it's self kind of managed. You just go at your own pace at your own time. So if you feel stressed out after 10 minutes, you can just log off and then come back in. It'll remember where you started, and you go through and you kind of do these hours and hours of. So anyway, that's one of the programs. The other one I wanted to show you is the on the other course is the Rebuild and Thrive Masterclass. And this is something similar, but this is actually creating a plan to get your life back on track and how to do it. And, so you get your family together and get you feeling, it helps you out of the journey out of depression. So what happens often if you get into this situation, you get quite depressed. And so what we do is we create the definition of depression by a psychiatrist called Rollo May is that it's an inability to conceive a future. So what we try to do is give you a future vision of your next chapter, and then we help you get there. And that's what this program is about. And it's self-directed. You don't have to speak to anyone. You can just do it yourself at your own pace and everything. There's a couple of people on the call who've actually been on that program. And there's also people who've been on the first program that you've seen. There's also here what I call the fellowship, which is a group that you can join. And I post here hints and tips on how to handle situations. So this is the one I did today. It's called a survival checklist for litigants in person. And you can do a link to a post. I do loads and loads of posts, as a lot of people will know. Here is actually a downloadable checklist. I actually had a meeting today with Andy, and John Howard was talking about what judges are supposed to be doing when they have a house repossession case in front of them. And he said they may have forgotten what they should be doing. And I've checked it out, and they have been forgetting what they've been doing, what they should be doing. And they can't claim, repossess your house without having gone through this procedure. And so what I've given you is an article on it. And I've given you a checklist on what proper judicial process looks like. So this is a type of support that I'm providing, and we're providing as a group, because Get Safe is a survivor-led community. So the helpers in Get Safe have all been victims themselves of the banks and everything. And so there's a downloadable document here that is a little checklist, a judicial process checklist for citizen investigators and litigants in person. So basically, this is a place for you to find the support that's been missing and some training on it, and it's all free. So just register there. You'll click a button. I'll get an email saying that Robert wants to join or whatever, and I'll just click OK, and then we're off, and you can go on your course. So that's all I wanted to say, Andy. I think I tried to keep it to 10 minutes for you.
That's fantastic, Steve. Really, really fantastic. A couple of questions, if you don't mind, from me, just to focus on a couple of key areas. What have you been learning about how to use AI through things like data subject access requests, freedom of information requests, responses to letters? Can you give folks a bit of a feel for the practical applications of that sort of thing? And I know that Tony Lawler, who's also a huge fan of AI and is also using AI brilliantly along with others, is probably going to be adding to some of the things that you are about to say, Steve. But give folks a feel for how AI isn't something to be scared of, well, at least in this context. Loads of other
Yeah,
bloody reasons to be scared of it, but how it's not to be scared of in this context, and how it can really, really help with answering snotty letters from banks, etc., etc.
yeah,
Thanks, Steve.
exactly. So we had a call this morning. Brian was on the call, and I was on the call this morning. We kind of meet, we have a little committee, and we sort of meet. And there was another Rob was another member. Rob's a victim bank fraud. And he gave a great example. He said he'd been spending Christmas on ChatGPT, loading up past DSAR documents and everything onto the system. And he put something up, and he says it tells you things that you don't see. So he'd loaded this document up, and what he found from the ChatGPT said there's something wrong here. They're basically a repossession order of a property. The bailiffs have been instructed before the actual court case. So he's having bailiffs turn up, which is illegal. And he would not have found that out had he not been using ChatGPT to upload his documents and everything. He said, I never saw that in a month of Sundays. And ChatGPT just told me that. And it then not only did that, but it told me a strategy. It's about, this is what you do. He says, well, shall I tell the FCA? And he says, no, don't. The ChatGPT said, no, whatever you do, don't do that. This is what you do, and these are steps you follow. And it gave him a step-by-step thing about what you do. And that is where AI is today. It's just absolutely incredible, having someone on your side to do that. Don't be afraid of it. It's amazing. I know there's other people on this call as well that I've been doing work with, and it's absolutely amazing the difference it makes. And it's like having other people were saying to me, it's like having your own therapist, because they're not going to go and tell someone else what you've just been talking about. So you can talk about to your own therapist and tell them things you don't tell anyone else. It's just between you and chat, but it will give you really great feedback and strategies, and write your letters for you that you send to the FCA, you send to FOS, you send to the bank. It prepares things that you can put in your court submissions and helps you litigants in person with that. You have to check everything. It's not a replacement for legal advice. But we're talking here about people who haven't got legal representation. So, I'm saying this is 99% what you need. It's very unintrusive. It's £20 a month for the paid version, but a lot of it can be done on the free version if you haven't got £20 a month. But yeah, it's just incredible. Everyone who uses it says it's wonderful, amazing, life-changing. So anyway, so that's my response, Andy.
Thank you very much indeed, Steve. Thank you. If you've never used it at all, if you haven't yet used it at all, give it a go and have a play, and just ask it all kinds of questions about all kinds of things. And you'll get used to just how easy and natural it is. AI is wonderful. There are loads of reasons to think that AI is also the worst thing that's ever happened in the world, because it might lead to human destruction and all the rest of it. But that's another conversation for another time. Thank you, Steve. Before we go to Tony, who's also going to be talking about AI-related matters, I'm sure, one of Tony's best lines is when he talks about, it's all about information control in the system, and Tony will be talking about that kind of thing. Before we go to Tony, let's see if anybody else has any comments or questions following on from what Steve has just been saying. So please raise your hand, either literally or digitally, if you'd like to come in with anything. I can see Maori. Forgive me if I've mispronounced your name, sir. Maori?
It's Morris.
Morris, I'm sorry, you've got an
Yes,
abbreviation. I'll change it on the screen. Sorry. Sorry, Morris.
I'm not sure. I'm just wondering, is it too late for us? We were in the High Court in Cork in Ireland last July, and the judge found against us. And they also had a case in the Circuit Court looking for possession. This was debt, was in July. And we were advised to go and see a PIP in Cork, which we did. And I'm not sure now if are we gone too far that we can't get out of this situation?
Morris, I'm so sorry to hear how far it's gone. and obviously we won't have time to discuss your case
Sure,
in detail.
yeah.
But basically, man to man, as it were, do you know in your heart of hearts that basically you're in the right and the system's shortchanged you of justice in some way? Is that what the kind of context is?
Yeah, like there was a barrister for the other side there on the day and introduced a piece of case law which wasn't relevant to the case. Um, I was, let's say, I wasn't well prepared because I thought the case we went forward with was basically just out of it was over 12 years. The things we had on our affidavit, they never answered on the affidavit. We had three strikeouts previously, and the judge said that the strikeout doesn't mean that the case ends. They introduced the same case with the same case number, and that was when he heard in July, even though it was struck out the previous January.
Maurice, thank you for taking the time and having the courage to tell us what you just told us. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to give you my answer, and then we'll go to Steve to get his thoughts as well. You were probably on the Zoom call when I shared the TTF timetable. This session, the one that we're calling fellowship. Fellowship to me is such a wonderful word. It really sums up such a lovely vibe, and that's really what we're trying to build here, a fellowship. Fellowship for people seeking hope, help, and healing. I'm mentioning that fellowship to you, Maurice, because regardless of whether there can or can't be anything done legally about the case itself, I'm 100% certain, sir, that you would find value in coming to those meetings, because at very, very least, you'll be able to get stuff off your chest and relate to people who've had similar experiences to you. I'm pretty sure some of the work Steve's been doing in recent months has helped some people just stay sane. That's the kind of thing it's all about. Robert Delner, who's the co-founder of that group, he was on the advisory group meeting that Steve referred to earlier this afternoon. I can't remember the exact phrase he used. Can you remember, Steve? He said something like the psycho emotion. Yeah, the psycho emotion, the intensity of the psycho emotion when your livelihood's stuffed, your home's stuffed, and you're being thrown out on the streets. Your complete belief in the system and the state is completely shattered. It's like complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I think the phrase is. Yeah. And there's no institution out there that's going to help you. You'll get more help if you had your TV nicked out of your front room than if your life is completely ruined. So definitely, it's never too late to try to do something about your situation, Maurice. I'd actively encourage you to join that group and just see what it does. There's no charge. There's no contractual arrangement here. We'll do all we can to try to help you if we possibly can. That's my response.
Could I come in there for a minute?
Sorry, who said that?
Yeah, just Teresa.
Oh, hi, Teresa. Nice to have you with us. Yeah, please do come in, and then we'll go to Steve Conley. Please do. Thank you.
Yeah, just on that topic of strikeout, there's an awful lot of misinformation about that. It depends whether the strikeout is procedural or if it's substantive. If it's procedural, they can come straight back again. So people feel a little bit dismayed when the cases are brought back again after a strikeout. But just to let them know that actually happens, and it's not against you. That's what they do. They make their mistakes. The judge tells them all the mistakes they made. They go to fix them and they come back again. Unfortunately, they won't do that for you or I, but they will do it for the plaintiffs.
Teresa, thank you so much.
So that's just an issue that I would like cleared up, because we have res judicata and people think once it's been struck out. Only res on that matter, Andy, before I let you back to you, on res judicata only works if the case has been heard. If it has not been heard and just struck out, there's no res judicata.
Teresa, thank you very much indeed. I've heard such great things about your work from Brian Wiley and others, Teresa. It's great to have you with us. Thank you very much for chipping in. I notice, Maurice, we're going to stay with your point, because Lisa King's with us as well, and Lisa's somebody who I'm sure can relate to what you just said. Lisa, we're a bit pushed for time tonight because we're going to be wrapping up half an hour early than we normally do, folks. We're now shrinking these meetings to 7 o'clock. So, Lisa, chip in quickly before we go back to Steve for his comments in relation to what Maurice has said? Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Please do take yourself off mute, Lisa.
From mute. Hello. Hello,
Hi.
Andy. Hi,
Happy New Year,
Steve.
Lisa.
Nice
Hiya.
to see you in the flesh.
Yeah.
I don't have to go through the whole case because I don't have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
So, with ChatGPT and Steve, I discovered that what the bank had done, they had applied to the court in 2023 to have a personal representative added to the case, despite knowing that I'm a surviving spouse. So they tried to circumnavigate me out of it and basically repossess the house without me knowing about it. But what happened is that they applied under CPR 19.2. So I've challenged that. And with Steve's help and ChatGPT, I submitted a N244 a couple of weeks ago, and I now have a hearing. Mine is remote because I can't get there to go through what the bank did because they broke the rules. They lied. Basically, they lied to the court that there was no surviving spouse or family representatives for the estate of my late husband.
No, crazy. Lisa, thank you so much. Thank you
Okay.
very, very much indeed. For those of you that don't know Lisa contributes frequently to our events, and her case is just shocking is the only word that I can politely use right now. Thank you, Lisa, for being with us tonight, and hope you have a great 2026. Great 2026 to Lisa. Mr. Steve Connolly, a quick comment from you about what Maurice said, and then we'll jump to Tony Lawler. Thank you.
I'll just say it's never too late, Maurice. So, we have people in the pipe at every stage, like Lisa's, has a hearing, I think the 20th of January. And then we have people who've had the hearing, had the house was repossessed, and we're still helping them to get justice. So it's everybody here along the spectrum. What we'll get is the results from the court, any correspondence you've got from the court, you can analyse, and it instantly tells you exactly where you're at, what your next steps are to justice and recovery. So it's never too late in the process, Maurice. I want to give you reassurance that there's always something you can do and always something that can be done. And that's exactly what we're doing, helping people, even after a repossession, or even after the case. So any point in the journey is the right time to get safe.
Okay.
That's what. So yeah, reach out to us and we will help. So
Brilliant. That's good to know. It's fantastic. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much indeed, Maurice. Emily's put a hand up. Let's go to Emily. Emily, please introduce yourself because I think you're not a frequent attendee at least. So say hi and share your thought. Thank you. Then we'll go to Tony Lawler. Thank you.
Hi, Andy. And hi, Steve. I have been using AI to do various bits and pieces, one with the bank and one with something completely unrelated. But I just want a quick question for Steve, whether there was other platforms other than ChatGPT that he uses, because there's one that I use, which is I found so beneficial and so much better than ChatGPT for when you're dealing with large levels of documentation, and that is Notebook LM, which you can upload, say, 40 200-page documents and then ask the question, where does the bank contradict itself on the point of A or B? It's phenomenal. But I stumbled across that, and I wondered if Steve or anyone here knew of other platforms, because also there's a question of the sort of privacy element, or I worry about ChatGPT where that information is going, and I wondered if anyone had other platforms they would recommend. Okay, so in terms of the open AI platforms, I also use Claude. What helps me do the second program I've showed you, which is the Rebuild and Thrive, Claude translates it into, so
the Academy, which is my business, is a global business, and I have 800 members around the world. And the club translates the program into 100 languages, uses local laws, local currencies. So it's applicable. So, for example, Ireland, I could run the support program in the local currency, local laws, and everything like that. So I do trust open AI platforms. It does 99% of the job. We do have members who are paying £1,600 a year for professional legal executive platforms, open AI, so closed AI platforms that deal with everything. But it is £1,600 a year, but it's still a lot cheaper than paying a lawyer to kind of go through all of that for you. It's not an alternative to legal representation. But if a barrister's charging £1,000 an hour, then it's only an hour and a half of a barrister's time. You've got a whole system that could do most of the work for you. So we do have. So just reach out, Emily, and they'll kind of put you in touch with people who are using different platforms.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Emily. Great question. And what I did, I thought there was only ChatGPT for about 6 months. Then somebody told me about Claude, somebody told me about Grok. And what I learned to do, if you're using the free systems, after you've used them for a little while, you get a message, as most people know, that says you've run out of your free time, go away kind of thing, till tomorrow. But I thought, okay, well, I got so far with ChatGPT, I'll then take the case to Claude, use up the free time there, then take the case to Grok or whatever the other ones are. And you can kind of use them all as a combined effort. It's really, really cool. We're going to go straight from Steve to Tony Lawler. Let's show our appreciation to Steve. Steve, thank you very much indeed. Honestly, his work is just fabulous. I'm very, very keen to support it as best as I can. Thank you, Steve. You're doing amazing work, and it dovetails so well with what we do in TTF generally. Mr. Tony Lawler, for those of you that don't know Tony, I'll quickly mention he's a stalwart part of TTF Ireland, as we call it. TTF Ireland meets on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock. If you're anything to do with Ireland, then you're very welcome to attend. And just fill in that form that you get through the link I put in the chat earlier. Tony's got a wonderful understanding of the law. Tony, briefly mention your legal background, if you don't mind, before you share whatever other thoughts you'd like to share. And we're grateful for you being here. Tony, over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Well, I do happen to hold a first degree honours in law, where I successfully passed 16 different modules between contract law, constitutional law, property law, European law, you name it, 16 different modules anyway that I bypassed over a 4-year period. So I have an idea of how the law works. I just want to be clear that I placed my faith in the law. I placed my faith in that if I'm brought to court and the person who's bringing me to court is doing something wrong, and I can show that they're doing something wrong, I was of the mindset that that's what the law was for, to intervene to stop that type of behaviour and that type of conduct. Now, how wrong was I? How wrong is everybody to assume that? Now, that last speaker, when she spoke there about any other platforms, just have in your mind when you're going into court, a lot of the they're talking about equity of arms. They're talking about you're standing there as a lay litigant and you're up against a law firm that might have 4 or 5 solicitors probing the circumstances. They will have junior counsel and they will have senior counsel. Now, what I'd say to that last lady that was on the thing, let's be a little bit, think outside of the box here. We have Harvey, we have Grok, we have ChatGPT, we have Deep Shark, we have that one that she was talking about there herself. We have Spellbook. We have a whole pile of different platforms that all specialize in different areas of law. Now, there's no reason why you can't bring together 5 or 6 different platforms that specializes and touches on the areas of law that are relevant to your case. You need to bring all them together in AI and bring the whole lot of them together, task them all, and then bring the efforts that they're all after making to formulate your narrative and to formulate your story and to highlight your wrongdoing. Now, I know that I have been working very closely with Mark Bannister over the last number of months. And what I can gather from why we're losing all these cases is that procedural law has been weaponized. It's been weaponized by these people. They're controlling the information. Now, there was an article recently, very recently, only in the last number of days, about a barrister by the name of Paul Marshall. Now, nobody knows who Paul Marshall is, but Paul Marshall is an icon as far as I'm concerned. Paul Marshall is the barrister who stood against the system to expose what went on in the post office. When everybody else was all in it for the 3 pieces of silver, and when Venables was getting her OBE, all them knew, every single one of them knew that this was a calculated concealment of the truth. Every single one of them knew. The system knew. All them barristers knew. All them solicitors knew. And yet, Paul Marshall stood up against the whole lot of it at huge risk to his own life and to his own profession. He could have been disbarred because of what he was saying. But he went along and he discovered in 2016, he actually discovered a document that proved that the post office knew all the time that Horizon was faulty. They knew what they were generating was wrong. They knew the prosecutions they were taking were wrong. And he stood alone, and may I say alone, against that system. There was big law firms, oh, no, that's not the way at all, Mr. Marshall, and all that. But he didn't, he stood at it, and look what that has produced. Let that be an example to everybody that's on this call and everybody that finds themselves in trouble. That man who spoke about strikeout, and when Teresa came in with her piece, to me, that sounds like procedural abuse. That's what it sounds like to me. Whether they grant them permission, like if it's struck out, it's struck out. If it's a general strikeout, it can be another issue. Now, another thing that ChatGPT and these platforms will do, they will decode hidden agendas within these letters. And let me say that the likes of you have received independent legal advice. That's a code name, or that's a code for if there is an issue around the invalidity of a contract or the fairness of a term within the contract. These people seem to escape by saying that, oh, you got independent legal advice, and then we leave it at that. But if we drill into we got independent legal advice, you'll find and see you didn't. How can you get independent legal advice on an adhesion contract, on a contract that you have to accept the terms and conditions therein? How can you get legal advice on that? You can't. It's not possible to get legal advice on it. And as I say, there's placing our faith in the system is something that the ordinary Joe Soap, the ordinary person in the street will rely on the judge, will rely on a good solicitor, will rely on the system, will rely on the law and all these things to make wrong right. But that's not the case. And the only way that their shenanigans survive is the abuse of procedural law. If you're going into court, now this is my contention, if you're going into court to argue substantive law and to try and win your case at a hearing, when the procedural board has dictated what evidence is in, what evidence is out, what's hearsay, what's not hearsay, what this means and what that means. If that boat has sailed and you're going in to try and get a decision in a court, you're not going to get it. It's simple, you're not going to get it. So it's all down to calculated concealment of the truth. The truth is being concealed. And I'll bet you anybody that's on this call, there would be issues within their own cases where the truth is not meeting the ears of the judges or is not coming under scrutiny of the judges. And that's how the whole system is just churning out judgment after judgment after judgment, is the weaponization of the law. And there's that Marshall man, that barrister also introduced the second wave of abuse that emanates from the procedural abuse. They'll abuse you first of all procedurally, and then they'll bring you into court and abuse you again and take your home or your business on foot of the abuse that they're already after perpetrating in the under procedural law. And that's how they do it. It's simple. These people articulate their arguments, and I'll give you a prime example. A prime example is under summary procedures in Ireland. All you need to do is to prove that you got the money, you're in debt, and there's no defence to the claim that the bank are making. That's it. They're the three bases upon which the court will assess for a summary judgment. Now that's ridiculous. And do you know what the best part of it is? The people who are saying you have no defence are the people who are taking you to court. Now think about that. The bank are saying you have no defence. Now, if the bank want to hide their shenanigans and hide their wrongdoing, they have to say you have no defence. So when we use the platforms, the AI platforms, if you get these documents and these letters that they do send to you, upload them and put them into and ask them, is there hidden agendas here? What does this mean? What does that mean for it? Like I'd say I have 4 AI platforms working for me in different areas of my case. One of them is in formation of contract. The other surrounds the finance and the arrears and the overcharging and the accounting. The other one is looking at principles of law and the application of the law. And I have all them working. Now, my objective is to bring all them together. Knit everything that they have, then stitch everything together to put forward my argument. Now, I have no doubts and here's one thing that I want to, I don't disagree with what Steve said. I agree with every single thing he says. But people want to realise that legal advice and AI are the same. The legal people who we go to get advice off of, they're getting that advice from AI. Make no mistake about it. I think it's Harvey is what they use. Or co-counsel is another one that they use. They're using AI.
Brilliant stuff. Tony, absolutely brilliant stuff. Folks, you can probably easily relate to the point I'm about to make. I could listen to Tony for hours and hours, and it's brilliant to hear your input, Tony. Tony's a very regular contributor at the Ireland Matters meetings, which are on Wednesdays at 1:00 on Zoom. I'll put look for the link to the TTF timetable and get yourself involved in those meetings, and you'll have the benefit of listening to people like Tony Lawler and Byron Jenkins and Seamus May and Brian Riley and many, many others, and Cornette Butler. Tony, thank you very, very much indeed. We're going to go from Tony straight over to our next contributor. We've asked 3 people to briefly introduce themselves and just talk a little bit about the work that they do. So we're going to go to our next speaker, and bear with me, I've lost my running order here. We're going to go to Martha Delarosa. Martha, this is the first time you've been with us. Can we show our appreciation, first of all, for Tony, for what he just said, and also welcome Martha, who's with us for the first time. Martha, tell us a bit about your organisation, and I've also noticed you've put what looks like a really helpful thing in the chat as well for us. Martha, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Andy, and to all of you for having me here this evening. It's great to be here. I work for the Access to Justice Foundation. We're a slightly different organisation to the ones that you're discussing here tonight. We're actually a charitable foundation that is a funder. So we're the only UK funder looking at solely dedicating resources to the delivery and provision of free legal advice services. So what that means is that all the grants that we make go to support the delivery of free legal advice services in a range of different areas, but totally across civil law. So a lot of the issues that you're discussing this evening will fit within that. We're a fundraising foundation. I say that because we're not endowed, so we don't have a lovely pot of money that we sit on and distribute. We have to fundraise for all the money that we're able to give out. And we've got a number and range of schemes through which we do that. A couple of them are legally based. So we are the prescribed charity to receive certain funds from different areas of legal activity. So we're the prescribed recipient of something called pro bono costs orders, which is where pro bono work occurs in a situation which would normally be cost generating. The cost of that pro bono work can be claimed from the losing party if the pro bono case is successful. But those costs have to be paid to the Access to Justice Foundation, and we then redistribute those funds to make sure more pro bono activity can happen. We also are the prescribed charity to receive undistributed damages from collective action cases in the Competition Appeal Tribunal. This is a really new area of law for us. We're only just seeing some of those litigations from collective actions in the Competition Appeal Tribunal come to fruition. But we're starting to see the trickle down of undistributed damages from those cases to the foundation. And again, we use that money almost entirely for grant making to organisations and initiatives across the UK that provide free legal advice, help, support, guidance, and other types of support initiatives to people who can't afford a lawyer or can't access the legal and justice system. We also do a range of kind of other activities that we use to make the case for continued investment in free legal advice services and opening the doors to justice. So the link that I've shared in the chat is one of those initiatives where we support looking at other alternative methods for people to access and deliver advice services by. Obviously, a huge part of that is the rise of technology and how it's used and how it can be used to support people inside the justice system. And that's the fruition of our work around understanding what's currently available in these spaces. But it's fascinating to hear your discussion tonight about how some of these tools are being put to use in litigation cases. We also do a little bit of research and support work around demonstrating the impact of legal issues on people, what that means for them, what that means for their lives, and also more broadly using that evidence and expertise to make the case to government and other kind of policy-based initiatives for why access to justice and why access to the legal system is continually important. I will put the link to our website there in the chat, but I'm aware I've just spat rather a lot of information out at you and not all of it will be relevant. But I'm very happy to take any questions that you have for me this evening. But similarly, if anything else arises from your conversations in the future that you think it would be interesting for us to be aware of or feedback on, I'd be really happy to do that.
Martha, what you just spent 5 minutes explaining is absolutely brilliant. Folks, I'm just sharing my screen to show you what you get to when you click on the first link that Martha kindly put in the chat. It looks brilliant. I mean, I haven't obviously had time to go into it in any detail, but it looks absolutely brilliant. For those of us who are looking for tools, ammunition, access to intelligence, access to procedural advice, etc., etc. Absolutely fantastic. Can we show our appreciation to Martha, please, for being here and for telling us about the work that she does? Thanks, Martha. I'll ask Alexander to fix up some time for you and I to chat on Zoom, because I can immediately see several areas of overlap between not just our work, but also the charity that's getting off the ground. More about that when we have a proper conversation, Martha. But that's fantastic. So glad we've connected with you. Really, really welcome to be here. And I'm sure you're going to find lots of reasons to want to continue to engage with us. And I'll make sure that we do. Brilliant, Martha. Does anybody have anything specific to ask Martha before we quickly go to our next contributor? Just raise your hand. Otherwise, we're going to quickly go to Seamus. Vala's got a hand up. Vala, I think you had your hand up from before. Forgive me, I did notice it before, but then I forgot. Please do chip in with your point now, Vala, and then we'll go to Seamus May, and then we'll go on to our next speaker after that. Thank you, Vala. Sorry for not picking you up earlier.
Very quick. I won't go into my problems. I've got many different ones, different strands, which I'm sure everybody has to some extent. But I've been using AI, and it's been really useful in one instance where I was trying to, in desperation, I went into AI and using specific prompts and commands that I've learnt, and it has learnt or it kind of saves in its data bank or whatever it is my previous prompts and commands. So what just one example, I've been charged service charges as an executor for over two years on 2 properties. I can't rent, I can't, they're empty, it's ridiculous. But anyway, and then I asked it about that as an executor. I'm not beneficiary yet, and it gave me some fantastic responses with I asked, I'm an academic, and I asked it for specific references with links, which it gave it to me. Then I asked it, I had to do this several times, so you keep going back and putting more prompts and commands in, and then it created a letter which I sent to one of the property management companies. They took 14 days to respond. I was hoping it would be longer. And basically, given someone else mentioned, sorry, this is so interesting, trying to follow everything, but somebody mentioned putting information back in, like a letter, to see whether they're responding in a lawful way, or trying to confuse me. So I'd say don't be afraid, just use the full force of AI. I don't care anymore about my privacy. My privacy's gone, so go for it. I'm 58. I've never touched it before, and I've found it really helpful.
Brilliant to hear, Vala. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant to hear, Vala. Thank you very, very much for chipping in.
Andy, can I just quickly say something to Val?
Go for it.
Get that letter that you got 14 days ago, put it into the AI platform that you're using, and ask it to identify with any hidden agendas that may contravene other areas of law. That's all you have to put in, and it'll go through that letter and watch what will come out. I leave it at that.
Nice one, Tony. Absolutely brilliant. Mr. Seamus May, we always love hearing from you, Seamus, for all kinds of reasons. Give us a minute or two on your thoughts about this matter to do with practical tips for David to beat Goliaths. Mr. Seamus May. Thanks, Seamus.
Yes, listen, Andy, thank you very much. This is a brilliant discussion. Everybody has had made marvelous inputs. I would be giving my experience on the back of 45 years spent in court. This is for people that aren't aware. I've spent just under 30 years in a competition law case in Ireland against very, very powerful adversaries, globally powerful. And I've spent another 15 years commutatively fighting banks, but not because I had big borrowings in the sense of what we're all talking about nowadays. I had very minor borrowings, but my adversaries in the competition case were all directors on all the banks. So there was common directors, and that is a tool they used to break me down. So I see it, everyone has all these problems, both on the UK side and on the Irish side. And everyone's saying, well, you used the wrong procedure, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do that. But to me, the problems are kind of wider than that. We we don't have leaders in the true sense. I don't see any leader, well, maybe one or two in Europe, in the European countries. We certainly have no leaders in Ireland. Um, and our systems have been taken over by the call it the World Economic Forum, call it corpocracy. There's a lot of ways we could describe it. So we're all like really peeing into the wind, trying to take things forward. Um, like for example, when the banks all crashed and the government brought in the vulture funds. There was absolutely no need to do that, and the government knew that because there were many alternatives. We could have given our post office a banking license, like what we did like what the New Zealand did. Um, oops.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. Seamus, there's obviously a glitch of some kind. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute you, and then we're going to quickly go to our next speaker, okay? We're going to be hearing from a gentleman who's in a bit of a predicament. Robert Windsor, as succinctly as you can, sir, please explain what's happening this month and why. And let's hope, pray somebody somewhere might be able to help. Robert, over to you, and we'll jump back to Seamus later if we can. Robert Windsor, to you, sir. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yes. Well, on the 23rd of January, I'm going to prison for 2 years for contempt of court without representation. There have been 6 committal hearings where I've asked for representation. It's been cancelled. It all started many years ago in 2014, and I didn't get the papers till 2020. But a case in the Court of Protection was dismissed by faking my consent to dismiss a £1.87 million complex fraud. There is a form, an N254 dismissal of appeal. The Court of Appeal kept sending that for 9 months to the Insolvency Service, saying if you don't dismiss the case, you'll get costs against you. They refused. But then they got a private insolvency practitioner to dismiss the case. Now, that one form goes to the Central London County Court. But before they send it to him, they removed all his details, put my name at the top of the form, and got a court master to sign the bottom that I dismiss it. Then that goes to the dismissals list to help reduce the 350,000 court backlog. I've maintained that money. It's all been assessed by the National Fraud Intelligence Bureau and disseminated to 3 police forces. It's been assessed by the CPS, albeit a CPS prosecutor in his own time. It's been assessed by the Equality Advisory Support Service, and there's nothing I can do about it. If I appeal, the appeal goes to the same people in the Court of Appeal who fakes my consent to dismiss. So I've appealed this recent week, and there's no action on it. So I'm stuck. I'm going to prison for 2 years, and that means I die in prison. I've got heart failure, heart disease, heart attack, etc., etc. And there's just nothing I can do about it. So I've got so many forged documents, so many copies. Even when I was discharged from a false bankruptcy, I've got court backers records, their computer records, showing them backdating papers and hearings to the day before I was made bankrupt, and they made me bankrupt for 3 years. I've got the Bank of England statements. and it's saying the £430,000 from the sale of your house is not with us, it's gone missing. And it was in the insolvency. He kept it in his own account for 3 years and nothing came back to me. So I'm stuck. There is somebody called Claire Gillam, a district judge, who blew the whistle on all this. And she did say that unless judges behave in this way on certain cases, they will be taken off those cases, taken out for retraining, and never hear those cases again and be passed over for promotion. That's all on the internet through Protect, the whistleblowing charity. But her stories are incredible on what is going on. But yeah, 2 years in prison. I'd rather stop taking my medications now and just not give them that last pleasure, because it's I just can't do anything. That is my story, like in a nutshell.
Robert, thank you. I've been reading the various emails Robert's been sending out for quite some time, and if somebody told me about Robert's case 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I just would not believe it, because it sounds like it can't possibly be true. The system can't possibly be that broken. I now know it is broken. In fact, it's worse than broken. It's deliberately created in some circumstances to actually work against people like Robert, when it's David versus Goliath, and David is on his own, under-resourced, undercapitalized, and is getting sort of chewed up and spat out by the system. And I honestly believe that's the case. Robert, are you happy for me to put your email address in the chat, Robert, in case there's anybody on the call who might have some ideas that could help you? If you can, just thumbs up and I'll put your email address in the chat, Robert, if you want me to do that. Well, I'm not sure if you heard me, Robert. Could you? Yeah, I'll tell you what, unmute yourself, Robert, because I don't want to make a mistake and put your email address in the chat unless you want me to do
yes,
it.
can you hear me?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Thank you very much. So I'm putting Robert's email address in the chat. If anybody thinks they might be able to help Robert, even at this very late stage, please get in contact with him, okay? And what we're going to do now, folks, is we're going to quickly invite Mr. Terry McMahon, who is with us tonight. Some of you may not even know who Terry McMahon is. One or two of you might not. He's a wonderful supporter of the cause, as well as being an incredible creative. That's the only way I could possibly begin to describe Terry in just a couple of sentences, really. Terry McMahon, if you're happy to, please chip in with any thoughts you have, and if you want to talk about why this topic is of interest to you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
How are you, folks? I didn't expect to be speaking, but Robert, I wish I had words to communicate to you the courage that you must have to be where you are. I wish there's something we could do, or something I could say, or something. It's beyond comprehension how you're being treated.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
In terms of what we're trying to do in Ireland, and again, it's Brian O'Reilly has facilitated all of this. We're trying to make a film, and a film that is the equivalent of a hand grenade with a pin pulled and thrown into a room. We're trying to go from the top down and deconstruct the entire corruption within the court system and within the mortgage system. In order to do that, we need a fictional narrative. What you've described, Robert, is devastating. Unfortunately, it's so unbelievable. As Andy said, it's almost incomprehensible. And yet it's not surprising that the state has done this to you. And we're looking to find ways of telling a simple story about a simple couple who enter the mortgage system and end up getting horribly treated, and the whole process of that, how that unfolds. That's the best we can hope for in order to start a national conversation, similar to what happened with the Post Office television program in England.
Exactly.
So,
Terry,
listen,
thank you.
It's okay, but Robert, you're an amazing human being. It's disgusting what's happening to you.
I appreciate it, and I admit it. I can't talk about it if I try outside, because it's too unbelievable. I have the documents, but I have all the fake signatures. I have the forensic reports on the fake signatures, everything. But it's unbelievable. So it's hard to talk about.
Robert, thank you again. Terry, thank you very much again. We're doing all we can to help Terry help us. There is absolutely no doubt about it, folks. when the documentary the docu-film, I guess, the film documentary Alan Bates versus the Post Office happened, it was really significant. There's a phrase some smart people use. It's called the Overton window. It's about the idea that some things that are previously inconceivable or unacceptable to be thought of become acceptable to be thought of. And what the Post Office scandal has basically done is help people in the UK, and of course folks in Ireland who've also seen it, believe that corporations can act dishonestly, badly, in an almost evil way. And also that the judicial system can actually not just fail, but actually conspire to deliberately fail to prevent people from getting justice. Tony Lawler mentioned Paul Marshall. Let me tell you this, folks. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I went to a meeting in Parliament. It was a meeting led by Lord Prem Seeker, who some of you may know is on the All Party Parliamentary Group that TTF runs. Lord Prem Seeker, for the second year in a row, brought people together who were victims of the Post Office scandal. Paul Marshall was one of the people there. He spoke. What a compelling man. I think Tony's absolutely on the button when he talks about how highly he rates Paul Marshall. A high integrity, highly capable human being. But I'm going to share a couple of things with you folks that moved me to tears when I was there. Imagine a room in Parliament, a nice big posh room in Parliament, roughly 100 people in it. One of those wonderful rooms with massive high ceilings and oak panels and huge paintings. And the room was basically full of post office sub-postmasters who'd been shafted, many of whom had been sent to jail, and they were telling their stories. And every one of these stories was absolutely heartbreaking, really heartbreaking. But what I was kind of expecting all that. I was expecting to hear horrible things, the things that those folks said, and I was kind of braced for it. And I'd heard it a few times before, and I was kind of, doing my best not to start crying. And I was doing okay. But then it all went to another level. We heard from people who were the children of the sub-postmasters, the children. We heard from people who, when they were 3 or 4 or 5 years of age, innocent children growing up in homes where the mum and the dad were completely and utterly stressed day in, day out beyond belief, knowing they were being taken to court for a crime that they did not commit. Can you imagine for a moment what the family atmosphere must have been like? It was absolutely heartbreaking. It was absolutely heartbreaking. And what completely did me in, it's the only phrase I can think of right now to explain what it was like hearing it, was a young man who told the story of how his dad ended up going to jail. Imagine that, your dad being sent to jail for a crime he didn't commit, and there's nothing that you or your mum can do about it. And this affected him badly, very, very, very badly. He talked about how he literally tried to take his own life on several occasions in several ways. And then the post office paid out to his dad after he'd been released and after the truth started coming out. The post office paid out to his dad an interim payment on compensation. And the irony of all ironies is the dad the dad spent the money that he was given by the post office in partial compensation for what happened to him, i.e. years in jail. He spent the money to pay for his son to get psychological treatment at the Priory. The son had tried to take his life several times. You can just imagine what the family must have been going through. the son had accessed every free psycho well-being help facility available in the country, and none of it was in any way heavy duty enough to kind of get him out of the big, dark, bleak hole he was in. And the only thing they could possibly think of to try to do was get him to the Priory. The irony of all ironies, the compensation to the dad went to the son to try to rebuild the son's mind. And in the same meeting, a man stood up. He was a man who, his name was Anthony. I've got his surname somewhere. This is a man who previously worked at the SRA, the Solicitors Regulatory Authority. And he basically said that it is now beyond any doubt whatsoever that the lawyers who were acting on behalf of the post office, who prosecuted these innocent people, acted immorally, wrongly, and importantly, unlawfully, when they deliberately took the innocent victims to court to get them banged up for crimes they hadn't committed. These lawyers did not think they were banging up innocent people. They knew they were they didn't think they were banging up guilty people. They literally knew they were trying to prosecute and have imprisoned innocent people. And this man, Anthony, who worked at the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, stood up and very nervously blew the whistle about his realization, having worked at the SRA himself, about what had actually happened. And this is one of the reasons why, when people tell me that the judicial system is captured, gamed, corrupted, flawed, wrong, broken, needing fixing, please understand, these are not people with imaginations and conspiracy theorist issues. These are people who are actually telling the truth, speaking truth to power. It really is happening. Forgive me on ending on such a serious note, but we are talking about people's lives here. We've just heard a man, Robert Windsor, talk about he'd rather not take his own bloody medication that's keeping him alive rather than going through what he's about to go through. We've got people who've committed suicide in our community. We've got people on the verge of it, and we are having to speak up and speak out and find ways to work together and keep each other afloat. And in all honesty, the meetings that we are running every week, we're running several meetings each week, all free to attend. If you think you can benefit from them, please come along and try to get some support from them, because they might just help you. Heather French, you've raised your hand. Heather French, over to you. Thank you. Please unmute, Heather.
Yeah. Thank you. There were just a couple of notes I made here. The first one is, I think the most important thing is to have witnesses, that is, other attendees in court. You've got to have witnesses. The second thing is that a lot of the judges haven't taken an oath. So that needs investigating. The third thing is judicial decisions are being now made by artificial intelligence, which completely reverses the game. And this is really scary. And it happened to me in April last year. And the court has been covering that up. And the irony is, it's the very same judge who was who made a decision in a case accusing a barrister of having used AI and relied on cases that didn't exist. And at the very same time he handed down that judgment, he actually used AI. The judge did. In my case, they tried to throw out an appeal that wasn't even before him. And my appeal hasn't been heard yet. I've got permission, but it hasn't been heard. And the other thing is, in terms of abusive process, what I found over years and long before AI, and this is not me being a smarty pants because I'm quite dyslexic, but I would have the law, the correct law, and I will quote the law in the court, and I realize what the judges do, and the other side, the legal professionals do, is they are completely silent. There's no response to my quoting the correct law and the correct procedure. And then it is not recorded it's not on the transcript. So they will not apply CPR in my case when I quote the correct CPR. So it's as if it was never referred to. So there are just a few things to look out for. And the other thing, somebody was posting the Mazur case. That's absolutely right. And this is as bad as the post office scandal, where you've got all these people who are not even solicitors, who are running cases, especially in the county court. And just finally, with the SRA, one of the reasons, the main reason why it's so dysfunctional is that they can have completed supervision with investigation, which is completely wrong. They don't even follow their own fraud handbook. Those things should never, they shouldn't be in the same room. But they've done that deliberately. They've brought them together. So it's all corrupt.
Heather, it's all corrupt. I think that sums it all up. It really does sum it all up. We're going to go back to Seamus in just a second. Seamus is on his phone now, I think, so he shouldn't have any problems with the connection anymore with a bit of luck. Just before we go to Seamus, I'm going to share my screen because one of the speakers in Parliament a few weeks ago, I think I was talking about earlier, was this lady here. Robert, you're unmuting and there's some background noise and it's coming through quite badly. So bear with me. That's why I'm muting you. This lady here, Katie Burrows, is the daughter of one of the people who ended up in jail. But there are several others here who are connected to the post office scandal. These are basically the children of the people who went to jail or were at risk of going to jail. It's a charity. It's well worth taking a look at. If you know anybody with money, please try to persuade them to give these folks some money because they deserve it. They really do deserve it. And as you'll see, the charity is called Lost Chances because basically they've had their childhood stolen from them. They didn't have childhoods because they were children of people who were victims of grotesque injustices. Seamus May, back to you as succinctly as you can, Seamus. Thank you.
Yeah, very quickly, apologies again, it's not my night for tech. But arising from what I said earlier, I'm hoping to take a number of cases. I'm well advanced in preparation, one against the state and probably a few political parties, not certain yet. I'm going to the EU Commission with a complaint, going to take a case to the European Court of Human Rights, which probably won't be entertained. And then my former legal team, etc., they're all in the picture. Now, I could not do that without what we're all talking about tonight, AI. And I put in a fairly good, solid year of studying AI last year. And I would reiterate what everybody else has said. I have all of my work divided up into a whole series of projects, probably about 20 now, and they're all interlinked. And I fed into my AI, I fed in files going back 40 and even 45 years. So it has an incredible picture of everything that I'm doing, that everything I have been doing, and the behavior of the courts. And it's just all day now. I start off with ChatGPT and I go through project after project after project with the aid of chat. And I can do in literally a half a day what it would take months to have done in the past, and I could never, ever even try to take on all this forthcoming litigation without AI. And then just the other thing about Ireland, it's all stacked against us because third-party funding, which is available in the UK, is illegal in Ireland. Contingency fees, likewise, that they're illegal in Ireland. Representative actions haven't got off the ground. We do now have a representative action law, but there's a lot of hoops to be jumped to get anything going there. And even the assignment of cases is very difficult to nearly impossible in Ireland, even though it should be. So all of those things would be contrary to European law. I just pity everybody that's trying to grow up with this system, because I don't think it's what we're doing wrong. I think it's what they're doing to us. And Tony is absolutely right. It's the procedures that they're killing us on. I mean, 29 years in court in the cement case, and I never was in the witness box once. So we have a long haul ahead of us, but with the fact that we've all met each other and we're all pretty good people, or we wouldn't be here, and with the help of AI, I'm very confident going forward. So listen, that's just me to finish off.
Nice one. One wonderfully positive note to finish on. Seamus, there's a lovely saying, isn't there? It ain't over until there's nobody that's not given. That's the one. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is there's always hope, and so long as there's at least one person who hasn't given up, and there's more than just one person who hasn't given up here. A lot of people haven't, and let's continue to fight the way that we can. This is the second time we've run this session. Every time we do, new ideas come to the surface. Because it seems to be helping, we'll run it again. We'll run it every 3 months or so. So March, April, we'll do another one of these. Can I please invite everybody just to put their hands together to thank everybody who's chipped in, from all the main speakers to others like Heather who's chipped in, and Terry and Robert and everybody. Thank you very, very much indeed, everybody. Have a good evening. You're not alone. That's the key point. You're not alone. Even if you think you are or feel like you are, you're not. And remember, there's always hope so long as there's at least one person that hasn't given up. And there's loads of people who haven't given up here. Robert, good luck. Your email address is in the chat. If anybody thinks they've got ideas that might help Robert, please contact him. The man deserves all the help he can get. Good night, everybody. Sleep well, stay well. Thank you very much indeed. Terry, lovely to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.